Maybe looming here in January. Some Democrats threatening to turn off the lights in a funding fight over immigration enforcement.
You're not ruling out a potential government shutdown over this battle for DHS reforms.
That's a decision for Republicans.
But you don't rule it out.
They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If they don't want to work with Democrats and shut down the government, that's up to them.
So there you had, that was Senator Murphy saying, it's really in the hands of the Republicans, which is really, of course, it's not. Why? Well, because you got to have 60 votes in the Senate to move past the filibuster, which is why we had the government shut down for good Lord knows how many days the first time around. Are they going to shut this government down over health care, over ICE funding, over what? We don't know. But somebody who is there on the Hill and working to get the job of the people done, Congressman Mike Bost, Illinois' 12th District Representative in Congress. Happy New Year to you, Congressman Bost. Good to have you back.
Happy New Year, Annie. And first off, let me say thank you for, reminding all of your listeners, because I guarantee you the Democrats won't remind the listeners that in the Senate, you've got to have the 60 votes, which is vitally important when you start talking about a shutdown, because that's where the shutdown will come from.
Yeah. If all of the Republicans agree, they can't get done what they need to do in the Senate. They have to have Democrats be willing to do what Senator Murphy said, is come to the table and make a deal. How are you assessing the future here? A couple weeks? Are we going to have another government shutdown?
I don't believe so, but there's a whole lot of issues out there. It's the ICE issues, it's the Venezuela stuff, and they always take a position that I believe is radically wrong with the American people, against the American people, or at least against the people of the majority of the people that sent me here to D.C., and that is whether it is, okay, look, Venezuela, we had a criminal that had been charged and had charges pending here. We went and we picked him up. And when we did it, it was not an act of war. It was aggressively going in. And I'm going to tell you, they did a wonderful job. And if you know all the details on it, it is amazing that only in the United States, our military combined with our Department of all of our CIA and everything like that, and the FBI, only the United States could pull anything like that off. Now, when we start talking about, if we start talking about ICE and what's going on there, look, these are sworn police officers doing their job. And all of a sudden, you've got this radical group that keeps going on. You had 3 members of the Congress to try to go in and inspect an ICE facility in Minnesota over the weekend, and they didn't let them in because there is a order to your oversight. And so, it'll be, I don't believe they'll try to do another shutdown. They have to talk among themselves because they lost in the last shutdown. The Democrats lost.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's why they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't even think that that's really up for debate. The Democrats did not come out ahead on that last deal. Congressman Mike Bost speaking with us right now, United States Congressman for Illinois' 12th District. Everybody is looking at what's going on in Minnesota, and I'm sure, Congressman, you, like me, are looking at Illinois going, can they be next? You've served in the General Assembly in Illinois state government. Do you suspect that there is this type of fraud taking place in the state of Illinois?
I believe that we have the ability, or the states should do their oversight, which they're supposed to do now, let me tell you, I've got a lot of legitimate daycares that are worried because the threat of cutting the funding. But
do they have children at their daycares?
They actually have children. They actually make their records. Matter of fact, I was actually at the grocery store on Saturday talking to a gal that I've known for years that owns a daycare, and she was worried, naturally. And I said, you keep records. I said, they come in and inspect. She said, they inspect all the time. And I said, then you're not not the problem. You got to understand that what we're looking at here is we're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of people that come in, claim they open a daycare. But when you go to look for the records, there's no record. Matter of fact, most of them, you're finding out that the building that they're supposed to be in is something completely different.
Yeah.
When you call a telephone number that they give you, there's no one answers, or if it does answer, they go, this isn't a daycare. I mean, that's fraud.
The state of Illinois is looking at putting in a potential progressive income tax question, I think, on the ballot again as this election is coming forward. Are we going to get our taxes raised in the state of Illinois while potential fraud is existing at the same time?
Well, that's a high possibility, because remember, they have always wanted a graduated income tax in the state of Illinois. The left does. When we were praised nationwide for having a flat tax for a long time. That was back when the flat tax was less than 3% too, by the way. But then all the other taxations that were out there. So as they move forward with this, that's pretty hard to explain, isn't it? We're going to tax you, but we're not going to watch over the money we take from you. We're going to spend it willy-nilly, and then if fraud's out there, that just happens.
Congressman Bost, this is Ryan. Hello.
Hi, Ryan.
I have a question that came in from our text line that I wanted to ask you here. It's a good one. It says, would you ask Congressman Bost what spending bills are going before the House this week?
What spending bills are going before the House this week? This week is, and I have that right there, this week is the Commerce, Energy, and Interior Funding Bill that will provide results across Southern Illinois. Matter of fact, in that, I'm proud to say that about $9 million in the funding for 7 infrastructure projects that are across Southern Illinois will be in that bill that we're working on this week, including water safety, sanitation projects, upgrades on emergency communication systems, and it is spread throughout the district. It's everything from there's going to Clinton County, the village of Maystown, West Salem, City of Anna, Robinson Palestine Water Commission, and City of Casey. So these are the type of things that we're trying to do. We're not going to do a CR. We're actually going to be moving these bills. And when we get this week moved, I think we'll have about 9 of the 12 bills completed. We've had that conversation with you all before about the fact that since 1972, I think only all 12 bills have only been passed twice. Yeah. So if we get this done with a small majority, then we're really doing well. And right now we're down to just about, like I said, we get through this week. We got just one more, because they're taken together in a clump. I think we got one more group that will be put together, and that'll be all 12.
Yeah, your majority is so small; it's about to become a minority. God forbid anything else happens there too. If
anything happens, yeah. Well, let me tell you that we really lost a really good man in Doug LaMalfa. He sat beside me in transportation infrastructure and also in ag, and he just was a great man.
Let me ask you, let's just put this politics part of this conversation that we normally have aside right now. And, there's 435 people there trying to get the business of the people done. And it's a slap fight all the time, especially when you have just a simple majority, which is the feature of the House of Representatives. Every vote counts. I know that you have friends that are Democrats in the House of Representatives, and they're Democrats who can have, comfortable conversations over dinner with Republicans. How do you navigate such a small majority to make sure that the business of the people is always the priority, but that you can also work across the aisle to get stuff done, but also not be seen as a traitor to your own party? That's a tough road to hoe.
That is tough, because you have certain people that don't want to work with the other side at all, on both sides. And then if you do, if you're a Democrat, you're turning on the Democrats. If you work with a Republican, if you're a Republican, well, obviously you're a rhino. And no, you're actually governing. And it is something that I had to do a whole lot from my minority situation when I was in the state of Illinois. And I've been in the minority, and I've been here a little bit. But then you have to work and you try to get them together. Even on my VA this week, we have we have a bill that's really, really tough, and nobody wants to, and we have to have the pay for it. Okay, that's part of the pay-go and the other language that was passed before I got here. You have to have an offset, or you got to figure out where you're coming up with the money. And when you're dealing with veterans issues, it has to unfortunately come from the VA somewhere. And then the argument is, well, don't take it here, don't take it there. So working with them to try to find a compromise is what we end up doing. And I say that because of and I think I've made this statement to you before. I don't want to use the word compromise because everybody thinks compromise is a bad thing. Yeah. So you try to find common ground, okay? And because compromise, somebody will think, oh, you're giving up a moral ground. No, we're negotiating on language. I'm not going to support anything that has abortion. You know that. I'm not going to support anything that affects your Second Amendment rights. But sometimes you've got to. Sometimes you have to work to get a little and turn the ship 3 or 4 degrees at a time, not trying to get it to turn 180 degrees all at once.
Yeah. That's the difference between campaigning and governing. And it's a challenge to be able to campaign, to win, so you can govern and not take yourself out of the next opportunity to campaign. Congressman Mike Bost, so go ahead. Speaking with us right now.
No, I was just going to say, remember that, and remember this, the statement is that, and if you're in the minority, you communicate. You try to say what you would do. If you're in the majority, you better legislate or you'll be communicating again.
Oh, touche. Congressman Mike Bost speaking with us right now. I'm thinking about all of those different ways that you have to navigate all of these particular issues to actually get something done. And then you get a strong figurehead, as the president is, Donald Trump, who seems as though he certainly seems to be the leader of the Republican Party. You're not going to get much done as a Republican contingent without the president, at least at minimum, not being against it, but of course, very helpful to have him be for it. Do you feel as though the Republicans in Congress right now are going to successfully be willing to be led by Donald Trump? Is the majority so small that those who tend to drift or stray, maybe even for the sake of just drifting and straying, are they going to be able to throw a wrench in the whole thing?
Well, I believe after we had our meeting, after we came back after the break where the president himself came in, I believe he's showing clearly that he is leading. He's leading in multiple areas at once. And then he is our strongest negotiator with somebody who might have a different view when a bill tries to move forward. I know when we moved the budget bill we moved last week, there were a few that were kind of standing off, and between the speaker, between the whip, and between the presidents, they were able to put them all together to get them on the rule and then get the bill passed. What's really wild is no Democrat would come over on and support the rule, because that's kind of just the way it works here, okay? But so once we got the rule passed, many members did not vote for particular parts on the Republican side, but there were enough Democrats came over to vote for it. Once you get the rule passed. But that's always why you always vote for the rule. And that's why if you're in the majority and if you're in the minority, you don't vote for the rule. But that's how we got that other budget bill passed. And I think that's how we're going to get the rest of them passed.
Last question before we let you go. Congressman Mike Bost speaking with us right now. Say you lose your majority in the House. Will anything get done in Washington, D.C. for Donald Trump and his administration his second 2 years?
No, you'll hear impeach from the radical left, and nothing will get done. Unfortunately, it will be a repeat of what we had in his first term for the second 2 years. I hope that that's not the case. I'm doing everything I can to work these districts that are swing districts, try to get in there for the, with my standing as the chairman of the VA and understand and explain to people why it's so important for us to keep the majority if we want to help those people who depend on government, and also to make sure that the government is better for our children and grandchildren in the future. And I'm going to tell you something. Let me make a quick comment here, because I know you were talking about your listeners and checking on the Iran situation.
Yeah.
I'm watching this very closely. Many people know and understand this. I know my family does. So the reason I joined the Marine Corps, remember I joined the Marine Corps 3 days after the hostages were taken.
Wow.
That's how long I've been watching this regime and how evil this regime is. Only a strong president. Ronald Reagan, the day he was sworn in is when they brought those hostages home. Donald Trump, we will watch this very closely, because if he says something, he's proved that they're paying attention.
Congressman Bost, is this moment in Iran different than all of the other moments leading up to it?
Yeah, because it's a uprising of the people to the level that they are, and now, because if we're going to get in with a Starlink and all the other things. The sad thing is the rest of the world will be able to see in actual time how bad it is that this regime is when they start killing their own people. And the statement right now is there were 500. There's rumors as many as 2,000 that have already been killed. All because they stand up for their rights.
Do you hope that the United States gets involved in some way to protect these people?
I believe that the United States has no choice, doesn't have to put boots on the ground, but I don't believe that the United States had. Remember, they weren't enforcing the sanctions before. Now all the sanctions are back on. And it was breaking the government. It's going to break the government this time, too. But also, the question is, what are the other things that are involved? Making sure they have internet, making sure Starlink and make sure the equipment has somehow got to them. And it needs to be a whole lot of a larger coalition than just the United States.
Congressman Mike Bost, it is always a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Big year. You got a lot of stuff to do here in January. We hope you'll stick with us.
Yes, we do.
Take care.
We do.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.